They've always had this endless supply of unlimited cash flow. And the things I'm going to get into this evening really do talk about the fact that once you get one private lender and you take care of that person and you give them their money back and you give them their interest, they're going to beg you to do that again. And it's going to force you to go out and find another deal. That is just fantastic. Now, when I talk about the this ebb and flow, imagine the ebb and flow of money coming in versus money going out for deals that you're purchasing. You've got this ebb and flow of, okay, so I have in the wings two investors that have 500,000 to deploy. And then on the other faucet, I've got no deals at the moment. No really good real estate investments that I'm looking at. So now I've got the money and now I got to go out and find deals. And it's always been, do I go find the money first and then go find the deals, or do I find the deal and then go find the money? Well, in my mind, with private lending, you want to have a couple of investors on board before you go out and find a deal because private lending, it kind of moves in at a very manageable speed. You'll find an investor that says, you know what, I've got 250,000. I'd love to work with you, Mike. I trust you. I've seen your track record. I've seen what you've done with your own money. I've seen how you've handled other investors. I like what you say on these webinars that I've been attending. I want to go ahead and earmark 250 grand for you. That's fantastic because now you're shopping in the range of deals where you know how much capital you have to deploy on that deal. You're going to go find a house for 150, needs $60,000 worth of rehabs, that's 210,000. You can give your investor the interest rate that you're going to give them 8%, and they're going to get their money back with interest in 2 years because obviously as you're rehabbing a house or working this deal, you're not going to have any income coming in to give them monthly payments. I've seen a lot of people make that mistake where the investor's like, no, I need interest payments every month. Well, where's that money supposed to come from? You're spending 80 hours a week rehabbing this house, making it livable. Where is this cash flow going to come from? And now we've got a problem where I've seen people try to work a full-time job just to pay the interest while they're rehabbing a house. That's totally ridiculous. It has to be an upfront agreement. Um, so it comes down the path of before the cart, meaning once you get the momentum and you're finding deals, you've got a couple of investors that are on board. They just keep coming up with more and more money for you to deploy on more and more deals. That's fine. But in the very beginning, that's the tricky part. And I would recommend getting a few or more than a few investors on board with cash ready to deploy. Let's go to this one. Now, who is your ideal investor? So you can see above, I've got $2.1 trillion locked up in dead 401ks. I quit my job in 2005. I had 100 grand in this dead 401k. I had no idea that I could actually use that money to invest until someone told me about these self-directed IRAs that are out there. That's when everything changed for me. I now had this $100,000 to deploy. I would have been your perfect investor. Now, I can't do a whole lot with 100 grand the way it used to be, but I would have been your perfect investor had you taught me about a self-directed IRA. I didn't even know that those things existed. Less than 2% of the population actually uses self-directed IRA. That to me is basically the government's fault because they have made this available since 1974. That's over 50 years these things have been available. You can go to irs.gov and search the crap out of self-directed IRAs and solo 401ks, and they have done a horrible job at teaching people about self-directed IRAs. They left it up to Wall Street. But Wall Street doesn't want you to know that you can go out and buy a rental property. They don't want you to know that because they can't make a commission off of your rental property. So back when I had this dead 401k, had I run this thing up to $200,000 before I quit my job, I would have had 200,000. I would have been your perfect investor. And maybe you're doing a $400,000 deal, you go out and find two of me, or three or four. And I have the documentation on how you can put that money together legally and go out and do some bigger deals with some smaller investors. 25 here, 50 there, 75 there. So I would have been your perfect investor had you taught me how to use a self-directed IRA. So I'm basically teaching people how to teach people about opening up a self-directed IRA so that you can tap into their funds in the correct way, right? It's, in my opinion, I would have to say that this is the best thing out there that no one was talking about. So, where are you going to find your future investors? With you finding your future investors, the way that I would go about it is by joining different communities on the internet. I favorably prefer Skool, Skool. You can go back to my first slide and scan this QR code and get into the Skool communities. This happens to be my note investing community. When you scan on this thing, it's right now it's still a free community. When I get to 100 members, it's going to be a paid community, but you'll be able to access it and stay in there for free. I think I'm at 70 right now, so it's filling up quick. Go ahead and jump into the group. And that's where I would start posting, talking about once you learn the stuff that I'm teaching, start talking about self-directed IRAs, start doing presentations just like this presentation I'm doing here this evening. And you will find these future investors. They are out there. They don't know crap about what a self-directed IRA is. And you can actually teach them the tax benefits that they can enjoy. And then they say, okay, great. I've rolled over my dead 401k. I'm making a $7,000 a year contribution. What do I do now? Well, I'm out looking for real estate deals. I'm offering 8% return, 6% return, 10%, whatever you're offering. And that's where you find your future investors. there are ways to actually find who investors are already doing this. This is in my course where I teach very specifically how to find people that have already invested with someone else in real estate and they've gotten their money back and now they need to deploy it again. I came across this by accident and I'm like, oh my God, I got to teach this to people. This is fantastic. You can literally see how much they have invested in the past and who they're investing with currently and when they just got their money back. And you can find all of that information um, for free. Now, when I talk about this $2.1 trillion that's locked up in dead 401ks, how does a 401k actually become dead? Um, from people that either quit, got fired, or they got laid off. And I was one of the people who had quit their job in 2005, and I had this 100 grand. It was literally the only money I had in my existence. And I had my primary residence, which was cool. I was able to, with my primary residence, I was able to pull equity out of my primary and go out and buy a two-family house and use the equity line of credit that I took out on my primary as a down for the down payment to buy this two-family house. That's how we got started. Um, I still had a job. I was doing this kind of as a moonlight thing. And because I quit my job, I now had this dead 401k. I was talking to my niece and nephew several years ago when they found out that Uncle Mike and Aunt Mary were buying real estate. They sat us down at a wedding and they picked our brain. And I had mentioned about dead 401ks. And between my niece and nephew, they had four of them from previous jobs that they had either quit, got fired, or got laid off from. And they each took theirs and created, rolled those into a self directed IRA. And then they started buying investments that we steered them into. Um, that money was just sitting there. They have now since rolled that money over and they've started a business with that money. And and I was like, I really should teach this. This is a very helpful topic. It's not learning the note business. I've been in the note business a long time. I teach the note business, but teaching about how to utilize these dead 401ks, not only your own, but other people's. How do you track down that $2.1 trillion? Dollars? I teach that too. How do you get in front of those people to say, hey, listen, your money is sitting there doing nothing. You can invest with me, meaning you. I'm rehabbing or I'm buying multifamily property or I'm investing in non-performing notes, whatever it is that you like to invest in and what you're raising capital for, you can actually transition these people's 401ks into each person's separate self-directed IRA. And then they're like, okay, I rolled over 75. What do I do with the money? Let's do an investment together. Let's partner up together. Let's you partner up with someone else's IRA, and then we can all go out and buy an apartment together. Whatever it is you're thinking about investing in, and then whatever deals actually do come across your plate, if you're out looking for deals, you can tap into these people's um, accounts and get them to do a direction of investment into your LLC and you're in business. Now, you have to learn the basics of these self-directed IRAs so that you have to be good enough in your explanation and confident enough to actually teach the business. And that's what I'm trying to get the point across to you here tonight is I teach you how to teach them to get these accounts open, to give you unlimited capital for your deals. Now, of course, you want to make these people feel secure with working with you and confident enough by showing them, hey, you may have a track record already, or you may want to partner with someone that does have a track record. I met a guy that I'm going to have on one of these webinars who has been flipping houses for 30 years. And when he heard that I'm opening up this course, he's like, I'm all in. I've been doing this for 30 years. I have struggled raising capital. I've got a freaking track record. He actually had a brochure with him at an event that I looked at, and he showed me all the properties that he's worked on for the last 30 years. He put every one of them down up in the North Jersey area. And I'm like, I got to have you on a webinar, man. He's like, I got to have you on a webinar. So if you were brand new and did not have a track record, but you connected with this older guy who's got the track record, you and him could partner and you be the capital raiser. He's the fix and flipper guy. He knows all the contractors. He knows what color to paint the walls or whatever. You partner up with that old guy and use his track record for your presentations. I mean, the sky's the limit here, folks. I'm talking serious business that you can do. If you're stuck in your shitty job that you need to, it's a, just do this part time. Learn this business with me in my community and follow the program and partner up and leave that job that you're in a rat race. So in the teaching of this investment vehicle, these self-directed IRAs, you can show the safety by showing this old guy the track record. You can say, listen, maybe you guys have your money in these dead CD accounts. Maybe we can get some of that money rolled in, show them, you might be able to contribute $7,000 or $8,000 a year. That's the max in these self-directed IRAs. But you may want to get them to open up solo 401ks. That's part of the program that I teach. Roll their CD accounts into these 401ks, and you can contribute if they're married, they can contribute up to $65,000 in one year. Get that money out of the CD accounts, open up some Roth solo 401ks, and you're really helping these people with not only fantastic returns, but you're helping them roll that into a Roth where they don't pay taxes. When you put money into a CD and you make your 4% a year, 3% a year, when that 3% comes out, almost 50% of that goes to the government. So on $100,000, you made 3 grand, you got to give 1,500 to Uncle Sam. It's like, this is a ripoff, man. By opening up Roth retirement accounts, you're really if you do it correctly and you follow some people's advice, not saying just my advice, and you start getting some fantastic returns that grow tax free. Your returns grow tax free, not only for yourself, but for your investor. You get them into a Roth IRA, you give them $20,000 in profit next year on their returns because you did three flips. That 20 grand goes into their retirement account tax free. When they take it out, comes out tax free. That's a Roth. This is what I teach. This is the this is the business. This is the business that you're going to teach them to get them to invest with you. Just by sharing the knowledge of what you're describing to them in a self-directed IRA gives them the confidence to say, you know what, this guy knows what he's talking about. This woman, I really want to work with them because they're telling me stuff that I've never heard about before in my life. What is this self-directed tax-free IRA that I can invest in real estate? It's just, I don't know why nobody talks about this. I think because it is, sounds kind of scary. Sounds kind of like, oh, maybe this is illegal. I tell you, you can go to irs.gov. It's clear as day what you can and cannot invest in with your retirement accounts, with your Roth retirement accounts, and your traditional ones as well. So you want to get that track record down. You want to partner up with somebody who's got the experience, some house flipper that's out there. You want to show a case study. Listen, this is A to Z, soup to nuts, what we did on this property at XYZ Street in wherever. We bought it for this. We put this much into it. It took 4 months. We borrowed so much from Sam. We sold the house. We gave Sam his money back with his interest, Roth in his Roth, tax free. That money grew from 37 to 41,000, 6 months, 31 to whatever. And we managed to get that money back out there. And now he's turned that account into $50,000 and it was less than 2 years. That as that you start showing these case studies, you show them, hey, I'm securing this thing with a mortgage. I teach all of this. How do you secure your investors with a mortgage so that they know that if you go bad, they're going to end up with a house? That's a wonderful, wonderful thing that you can teach to raise unlimited capital. So I'd like to open this up to Q&A. Go ahead and type your questions in the chat or in the Q&A box, and I'd love to hear from you. If you want, I can actually, should be able to open up the mic and have you speak if you're so inclined. I'll just wait here for some questions. Anybody at all? Oh, looks like we got a queue. The chat is disabled again. Thank you, Christine. All right, let's see if I can open this baby up. Well, you know what? Actually, folks, go ahead and put your questions. You'll see a button that says Q and A. You should be able to type your questions in there. or if you want to speak, just type in to the Q&A. I can actually view the Q&A button window, and I can unmute you right from there. Alexander, have you used hypothecation as a way to get funding for a note purchase? So, hypothecation, from what I understand, wait, how about Alex? Can I unmute you and you can speak? Just type yes in the Q&A or no. Hey, Alex, you should be able to unmute. I think you're gonna have to unmute yourself.
There we
There,
go. Can you hear me now, Mike?
I got you.
Perfect. Okay,
Hey,
so my understanding for hypothecation is we are looking at private capital as a way for us to acquire a note, almost as if we were trying to like buy real estate, but instead we're buying the mortgage note itself. So what the goal would be is through hypothecation, I'm getting funding along with putting some of my own money in the deal. And then I'm going to have to basically do some yield harvesting because I have to pay back the money that I borrowed with the hypothecation.
so what exactly does that hypothecation mean?
So, I mean, it's basically just a way to get funding for purchases. Now, you typically can't buy a note and get funding from a bank, right? For some reason, they won't allow that. But with private capital, you should be able to, if they allow it in their business model, to fund the note purchase, at least most of it. They might fund 80% of it and you put
Hmm.
20% in, so you've got some skin in the game, and then of course they're going to have their rate and term for the loan that they're giving you, and then you're going to have a rate and term for what the note provides you. And so the yield split is basically what you're harvesting. So that way you can take down a note that cost more than what you currently have.
Sure. Okay, so in my simple mind, this is what I've done 100 times with the note business. I will actually find someone that will lend me the money for the note, and then I partner with them on that. They actually buy the note, and then I partner with them to help them exit the note. Um, that's what I've done. I'm not familiar with the term hypothecation. Um, I don't, it sounds like a great word, but I'm not familiar with it. But I've done so many different partnership deals where I either buy the note and then I have a partner come in and they give me 80 to 90 cents on the purchase price for 50% of the deal. And I get to stay in the deal essentially for free. Uh,
Sure.
is that similar to what you're talking about?
It is somewhat similar, yes. That is, it's a similar technique, absolutely. I mean, another thing you could do is if you bought the whole note, you could sell off a partial.
I've
So
done
you're
tons
still
of
in the
partials.
game.
Yeah.
You do what? Yeah,
I've done tons of partials. So these are great questions, Ali. We definitely need to talk. Um, so what I do with partials in the very beginning, I used to buy non-performing notes and then get a note performing and then sell the note. And I thought I was a genius, right? I bought the note for 20 cents on the dollar. I get the thing performing. I keep, I don't know, 30 or 40 payments over the next 2 years.
Mhm.
I keep all that money and then I sell the note for 60 cents on the dollar. And, I did a 300% return on my purchase price. Plus, I kept those 2 years worth of payments, and I thought I was pretty hot stuff. And then I came across partials where I would sell off 5 years of the monthly payments at a discount. So let's say the monthly payments for the next 5 years was going to come out to 30,000 bucks. I would sell that 30 grand worth of payments for 24,000. And with somebody's IRA comes in, gives me 24 grand, I could go out and buy more notes. And that was a 5 year payment stream that they ended up purchasing.
Mhm.
And at the end of the 60th month, then those payments start coming back to me and my company. And I was doing those as I was papering them up as essentially it was a private loan where they were lending me $24,000 and I would give them back 30,000 over the next 5 years. It was not
Gotcha. Okay.
literally physically tied to any particular note. It was basically a personal loan that they were giving me. If the borrower went ahead and paid me off tomorrow, I would still continue to give them their their 59 more payments out of my pocket. And it
Right.
was drawn up,
Yeah.
as a private loan to
Right.
me.
So a loan from their IR, their self-directed IRA into your LLC.
Correct.
Right. And so that way, because it was a loan, you're not paying taxes on that loan. And then you're investing the money and you're taking that money and whatever note that you purchased, whatever the yield is on that, you're making sure that that yield is greater than the interest rate of the loan that they issued you.
I don't really care about that. All
Okay.
I care, and I'm not even looking at interest rates now. I'm looking at what are they looking for their return. They're willing to give me a loan at 10%, 8%. I've done mostly at 8%. And so I know that their monthly payment is 500 bucks a month and they're giving me 60 payments, that's 30,000 bucks or whatever it comes out to. And so I would sell that so that they would get an 8 or a 10% return. All I cared about was getting a chunk of money today because I had another deal to buy.
Sure. Sure.
And then, like I said, they are not physically tied to that note. If the borrower goes non-performing tomorrow, I still owe them next month's monthly payment. And that's why I drew it up as a private loan. And I only did this with people that knew, like, and trusted me because they have to know that they're going to get paid. And I would definitely only do this in a situation where I'm not going to get stuck and not be able to perform on that monthly payment. And some months were tough, because when you buy non-performing notes, sometimes you don't work those things for a year or two, or you're waiting for equity, or you're still working on other notes. And so some months were like, hey, we're gonna have to dip into our savings to get this
Mhm.
thing paid off for this month. And then, at the end of the 60th month, we're like, okay, let's do that again. And
Okay, so I think I'm seeing what the difference is then. With hypothecation, what's happening is in your example, an unsecured loan from the client to you is being made.
mm,
With a hypothecation, what's happening is a secured loan is being made to purchase the note because the note is being pledged to the lender in case of default.
got it. So it's essentially a mortgage on a mortgage.
In a way, yeah. And so all I do is I would harvest the yield out of it. So if they gave me, a rate at like 6%, I just got to make sure whatever note I'm buying is higher than 6%, and I'm just
Gotcha.
keeping the difference.
And you're
Yeah.
keeping this. That's what hypothecation means. Yeah. So
Yeah,
so if you're getting a 9 and you're selling a yield of 6, then you're just keeping it 3.
exactly.
I got you. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean anything is possible. That sounds like an awful lot of for the crummy little loans that I do on I buy a lot of seconds and the monthly payments are $400 a month, $300 a month. And I actually can pull up a calculator real quick on how I do this. So let's say I'm selling um, $400 a month for 60 months at zero. That's $24,000 at a 0% interest rate.
Hmm.
So I'm collecting over the next 5 years $400 a month to collect $24,000. Now, if Alexander comes up to me and says, "Hey, listen, I've got some money to deploy and I'm looking for a 10% return." So I put 10 in here. I don't know, what am I doing wrong here with that? That's 24,000. And I don't know why this just, so I want to, oh, I know what it is. So let's say I just give a 20%, 24,000. Let's just put in 20,000 here. I don't know. I'm totally not doing this right. Oh, but anyway, I'm not gonna bore you on that thing. What I'm doing is just calculating out that $400 a month is gonna stay a constant, and now I'm gonna give you a return that exceeds or that gives you the return that you're looking for, and I'm looking for a chunk. But with a hypothecation, I think there's a whole bunch of paperwork that's gonna have to go along with that. Is that an Eddie Speed thing?
No, I think I saw that one in, I mean, Eddie Speed has definitely mentioned it. I think Fred and Nancy from Note
Oh, Fred
School.
Rui? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they've mentioned hypothecation quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been at this business a long time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Are you Eddie Speed's student?
Yes, I
Okay,
am.
cool. Are you currently still?
Not currently, no.
Got it. Yeah, so I know that he had a very I've seen it done where they actually transfer the note, the mortgage, through a tenants in common. Are you familiar with that process?
I've heard the term, but I've never used it.
So it's basically you're basically renting the note to someone. I don't know if assignments had to be changed and everything. I just, I heard about this whole thing. I said, you know what? I just want to do a partial in the simplest, easiest, fastest way possible.
Hmm.
And it came out, and I'm just whipping out my calculator here. Um, so 60 months. I don't know what I'm doing wrong with the numbers here. At a 0% return, 60, 24,000, 10% return. Oh, I know what it is. I have my payments set up for payments per year one. There's the problem. So I need to actually change this to 12. Yeah, to put 12 in there first. Boom, boom. There we go. Nope. Anyway, yeah, my calculator. I've got my calculator set up, and I forget how to change it back. But the way I have this thing on my regular calculator, if I was giving you $400 a month for 60 months at a 10% yield, you would give me 18,826 today. And then I would pay you back as a private loan, 400 bucks. You're not tied to the note. All you are is making me an unsecured private loan to me, guaranteed by me. And that's it. I found that to be so simple, so easy because I've had borrowers go bad on my performing loans, and now I've got to take 6 months. If you're doing a hypothecation with somebody and you got this thing papered up, I guess you would have to share that loss with your investor then.
I would. Yes, that is true.
But I'm doing
But
it
what
where
will
it's
happen more than likely is they're going to give me the opportunity to true it up. And if I basically don't make enough payments in a row, like three, for instance, then they can call in and say, well, you pledged this note to us in the case of default. So now we own the note. You're out of the deal. You just lost your 20% down or whatever it is. We're going to take over the note and we're going to make it a performing note again.
got it, got it. But in the way I've papered this thing up is like, hey, I just eat the loss. Now I have to, like I said, I have to do this where I have enough money coming in off of all of my other investments that I know that I can cover the notes that I have sold as partials.
And I like your way. It is a lot simpler. The
It's
only problem is like people with quite a bit of money. I have one lady I'm trying to work with. She has about 750,000 that she's trying to deploy. But when I presented it to her the way you do it, like, issue my company a loan, and she was like, well, what will happen if you default? I can't tell her, well, it's secured. It's not secured. It's an unsecured loan. And the moment I mention it's an unsecured loan,
she's
you know,
out
she
of
had,
there.
yeah, she just ran for the hills. She was like, there's
Yeah.
no way. You'll just take my money and run.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've done it where I've got equity in property where I live over here.
Hmm.
And I have other property that I own outright down in North Carolina where I could always just write a second mortgage and say, listen, if I have 350 equity on this house and 350 equity on that house. And if you need to get your hands on that 700,000 because you got a really hot deal, that a portfolio that you're looking at or something, I would just create 2 seconds on two properties or a pledge two of my lots down in North Carolina or whatever I have to do to make them feel secure. And
So, which that's what makes it sound more and more like a hypothecation because you're pledging it now, right?
if I
And
go
that's what
into
a
default,
hypothecation does. Yeah. But if,
on the mortgage note, it says, listen, if I don't either receive a balloon payment, like I've got a loan out right now, on a property that a guy is rehabbing his own property to sell. And in looking, and I created a second to make him the loan for 55,000. And it looks like the rehab isn't going the way I wanted. Let's just say that. Like nothing's been done.
okay.
And I'm like, holy crap, man, I should have put that into the mortgage to say, listen, if the money that I'm pledging in this second mortgage on this property hasn't been used, it's almost like a construction loan net where um, part of the default is actually not the work is not getting done. When is this thing in default? Now, the only time this thing is in default is at the end of May, and I need a balloon payment at the end of May. That's the way the note is written up.
Right. Okay.
Um, so yeah, I would give somebody a second mortgage and write in there to say, listen, if X isn't done by Y, then you're allowed to foreclose and get this take this property subject to on the with a second because there's a shit ton of equity, you know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And in that aspect, when you start pledging properties or other mortgage notes, it starts to sound more and more like a hypothecation.
Yes. Yeah, very interesting. Pretty
Okay, cool.
pretty deep stuff, man. But I go right back to the yeah, 750 is a lot of dough. But you know, I'm getting 25 and $30,000 chunks when I'm selling off my performers with, you know, what I call my crappy little partials. Um, just a personal loan. And man, it works so smooth.
Well, I definitely agree with, picking up non-performings and turning them into performings and then reselling them. Your return on your investment is going to go through the roof every single time.
Yeah, and I'm a big non-supporter of buying performing loans because they can only go in one direction. They're never going to get better, but they can only get worse.
True,
Um,
but they're safe when it comes to what I'd call alternative investments. When you're trying to pull people away that are used to the standard 401k that basically invests in the stock market, and that's all they know, and then you introduce them into the world of alternative investments, a first position performing note is probably the safest thing you could present them and let them get a couple wins underneath their belt and they'll get a taste for it and they'll be like, well, hey, how do I raise my yield? Well, that's when you start, presenting advanced strategies like, oh, well, we can buy this non-performing note for 50 cents on the dollar. I can flip it and make it performing and we could get like up to 100% ROI or even more.
yeah. Yeah, how long have you been at this?
Notes specifically or real estate in general?
Both.
Real estate in general, 10 years, notes 5 years.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Yeah. Well, good stuff, man. I'd love to do some presentation with you or something, you know.
That'd be absolutely fabulous. I'd like that.
Yeah. And what do you think about this self-directed IRA? Do you own a self-directed IRA?
You know what? I don't. I should, from what I've learned from not only listening to you, but I knew about self-directed IRAs a few years before. I don't like having my money tied up like that. I'm all about having cash flow in the here and the now, even if I have to pay tax on it, because when deals come in front of me, things happen very quickly. And I don't
So,
want to have to wait for anybody to say,
yep.
yeah, here, let us make those funds available to you.
So here's my workaround. Do you know who Jack Shea is? Did you ever hear of my buddy Jack Shea?
Jack Shea. No, I don't think I have.
So he was actually the guy that I was talking about in this webinar about 83-year-old. My son Jimmy knows Jack Shea, and he's the coolest old guy you ever met. And he was buying properties in Florida using private lending. And then him and an attorney, Mark Warda, came up with the exact subject that you're talking about. I can't wait around for some stupid custodian. If there's any custodians on this call, no offense, but they are such they're as bad as attorneys when it comes to covering themselves. And an investor like me, when a no deal comes along, I'm bidding against other people. And
Yep.
as soon as one of my bids that are accepted, funds get delayed, I'm out. There's no going back to the well to take another drink because you don't fund, you don't get to play anymore. So,
Yeah, and in the note space, it's pretty small. And so if that keeps happening where you're a non-performer and you're not following through, that gets spread around as well. And then some people they just don't want to mess with you in the first place.
well, the I can tell you the original person doesn't want to mess with you. And then if your word gets out that you suck at closing, you're toast throughout the industry, like you said.
Yeah, yeah, and I can't afford to have something like that. I mean,
Me
if
neither.
if I had to put my money into something, I guess it would probably be like a maybe a high cash value life insurance policy where I could literally just make a phone call, I fill out a form, and my money is there.
Yep. Well, I'm gonna do a pretty I'm gonna do a pretty advanced technique here on this call. We'll decide whether or not to cut this out later. So my buddy Jack Shea and this attorney Mark Warda came up with this idea or this concept of owning your self-directed IRA with your money sitting at the custodian. Let's say you got 100 grand just for simplicity.
Okay.
And you as the and like I said, Jack and Mark Warda came up with this. You as the investor go find a trustee. So I hire Alex. Alexander is going to be my trustee for my account. Alex goes down to my local bank and sits down with a declaration of trust document and opens up a, I always get these two mixed up. They open up a trust, which is an irrevocable trust. And the trustee sits down at the bank, says, I want to open up an irrevocable trust. Here is the declaration of trust naming my IRA as the beneficiary for this trust. And he walks into the account, finds somebody who knows what they're talking about, and they open up this irrevocable trust. Then I make a direction of investment to my custodian to say, I want to invest. You don't have to do the whole thing, but let's say you just take 100 out and they invest. The custodian funds this trust or invests in this trust. Now, like I said, you're a trustee. I trust Alex. Please don't steal my money. And you're going to, that trust is going to get funded. But in the meantime, you're actually going to give me password control of this trust so that the only way that they could go in and steal the funds is the trustee could go in and steal the funds is they walk into the bank and they close the account. They actually literally could walk in, close the account, and put the money into their name. Now, the idea is try not to have a lot of cash in the trust. Only fund the trust when you're ready to fund a deal. And it's really easy to be broke in your trust. So anyway, now you're when you go to your custodian website, all you see is investing in this Ocean First Trust. That's the name of the trust account, Ocean First Trust. And got $100,000 in there. And now you have checkbook control and you can wire from home control. And so you got 3 or 4 checks that your trustee has signed, either usually a rubber stamp is good. And you're walking around your real estate RIA meeting and somebody's got a fixer upper that you wanted to buy for 85,000, you write a check on the spot. Here you go. Things already been signed. Let's go to the bank and get this thing cashed. And you bought a house. That's how you have checkbook control. A lot of people don't don't want to go through the hassle of having a trustee. I like the trustee. It's a pain in the ass, I can tell you that, because if there's any issues with your account getting password encrypted, issued, or something, the trustee has to physically go in and make the changes. But there are other ways that a lot of people use LLCs for checkbook control for their self-directed IRA. And checkbook control is everything when you're talking about the games that we're trying to get into. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. That is definitely a more advanced technique. I didn't even think of doing it that way.
Well, the trustee is the most advanced, and it, it's a pain in the neck, and now I've got a couple of self-directed IRAs. I'm thinking of trying out the LLC for my second one just because I don't want to drive my trustee crazy. Like every once in a while, I'll send him $500 just for being such a nice guy. And
Just for keeping your money fluid.
well, just for being there, a couple of months ago, we had to go down. I was using TD Bank, and then TD Bank now has gotten horrendous. And we have TD Bank. I think you're in Florida, right, Alex?
No, sir, I'm in Missouri.
Oh, okay. I I thought I saw you in pictures with a boat or something. I just
Oh,
assumed.
I was looking to buy some condos down there as an investment.
Okay. So, so I wanted to get out of TD Bank and open up a Citizens account. So, it's a big deal. My trustee is a young guy. He's got two little kids, and for him to get out of the house and sit down at an office for an hour and make the transfer to close the old account, walk the check out, and drop it into the new account was a big deal. For him to take literally half a day, because then we had to go out for beers after that. And so I give him a bonus every once in a while, and he laughs and he's like, "Yeah, thanks." The trust account is definitely more laborious than owning an LLC with the checkbook LLC. And you could just put into ChatGPT checkbook LLC for self-directed IRA, and you'll have that thing up and running in no time.
Okay.
It's totally worth it to have your money in a Roth IRA, and it's it's the best thing. It literally is. And getting checkbook control is no problem, just so you know.
Yeah, I'll have to check into that.
Pretty advanced stuff. But I appreciate the question. I love these kind of questions. I could just sit here all night talking about this stuff. But nice meeting you, Alex, and thank you so much.
Absolutely. Good to talk to you.
You too. Any more questions, folks? All right. Well, listen, I want to thank everybody for being on this thing tonight. Um, hopefully you scanned the QR code. Let me just go back to that in the beginning. And just go ahead and scan that QR code and join my Note Conference Fast Track community on school. And we'll see you there. Thanks again, everybody. Have a good night.